Hello everyone. In today's video, I would explain the process of installing PEGA Customer Decision Hub in a PEGA Personal Edition instance. Now, even though PEGA's latest version is 8.8 and a Customer Decision Hub instance is also available in 8.8, I would be using the PEGA Customer Decision Hub 8.7 because my Personal Edition, indeed the latest version of Personal Edition, is 8.7. So before we start doing anything within PEGA, the first step which everyone has to do is we need to go into PDN, go into the support link and go to the download PEGA software option. Now, when I click on this download PEGA software option, I would be routed to a page which would show me the products licensed to my company. Now, if you, for example, don't see any, and if you search here, for example, let's say with Hub, so you can see that I have a Customer Decision Hub product available. If you don't see this product, it means that product is not licensed to your company. So then you need to go and talk to your account administrator who's associated with your company and then tell them to give you access. But as of now, if you don't have access to this, you can't do anything. So you need to stop watching the video and kind of come back only when you have access to this. So I would assume, based on what I explained before, that you have access to the PEGA Customer Decision Hub product and you have installed it, or let's say downloaded it into your machine. So as you can see here, I have downloaded it, this one 117159 PCRM 8.7, and you have unzipped it. That is the major assumption which I would make before going forward. Okay. Now, if you inspect the contents of this zip file, you would find that there is a folder called rules, and you have a set of zip files underneath it. So this is the one which is really important, which is CDH code, which you will install. Before we proceed further, let me just start off spinning up the server. I would need to turn on the servers. So I use something called a UTM, which allows me to have multiple instances of a PEGA server within a Mac laptop. Let me just start it off. So I have turned on the server. Now, before we proceed further, we need to create something called a new schema. Now, how do we do this? We need to first go to pgadmin 4, which I have already installed, and I will start it on. Now, the next step would be to first create a new schema. Now, why do we need to create a new schema? Because all the details of the Customer Decision Hub, all the tables, all the triggers, all the procedures, everything will go into a separate schema. So, and that schema is usually called external marketing data schema, and in short, it's external MKT data. So you can see that I don't have a server configured for this yet. So I need to do something. I would first get the IP address. It's the IP address 198.192.168. I'll just configure that first. Let me name it as PEGA P Backup 0. I think that's the name I have. You can change the name, of course, later on. Then I will give the password. The server is not up yet. Okay. I think the password is wrong. Yeah, the password was wrong. So yeah, so I have changed the password. Now you can see I have connected to the server, which means my PEGA server is also up. I will check that. But as you can see here, when you open the Postgres database, which is the Personal Edition's default database, you can see this option called schemas. Now inside schemas, you can see that there are 4 schemas given. We usually use the data and the rule schema, not so much the public schema, but we need to create one more schema here. So the name of the schema would be external MKT data, which I have to create, and the owner will have to be a Postgres, as is already given. I will create this. Now it's already created. Okay. Now, once this is created, the next step of changes, next set of changes will be done in PEGA. We have created the external schema. The next set of changes will be in PEGA. So I already mentioned that the PEGA server is up. So I would click on login with the administrator ID and password. I would have to create a new rule called dynamic system settings, and let me search with already with PR config. So there needs to be a new a DSS or data admin system setting instance, which would be telling PEGA which is the name of the external schema. So I don't know why it's coming up like this, but yeah, the name would be PR config databases slash external MKT data default schema slash default, like this. So I'll just create an open, and the value would be the name of the schema, external MKT data. So I have now created this PR config. This one is now complete. Okay. And before we proceed further, let's check the content of this external schema just to be sure. You can see that the external MKT data, this is completely blank. There are no tables. Now the next step would involve creating a database instance. When I say that a database needs to be created, I don't really mean a Postgres database, but what we need to do is we need to come inside PEGA and create a database rule. So you can see here the option of database inside sysadmin. These rules are instances of data admin DB name class, and they are usually used to connect to different schemas within the current database under which PEGA is hosted, or it can actually also be used to connect to external schema. So what I will do here is I'll create a new database. I don't know why this formatting is off. There's some issue with my server. I guess we have to fix it. So I'll create a new database rule. Now, normally what happens is we kind of use the JDBC connection pool, or we use configuration in preferences, but for those you need to make a change on the PR config file within the server. That will be a bit complicated, so I will not use it. And anyway, this schema is actually within the schema. I mean, it's within the database server which is hosting PEGA, so it's the same database. So had this been an external database, we perhaps would have considered using let's say a JDBC connection pool, or connecting it with changes on the PR config file, but we will not do it here. What I will do here is I will use the JDBC URL. Now when I use JDBC URL, this JDBC URL has to be given here. Now JDBC URL has different formats for different databases. I have used Postgres, so Postgres has this format. You can see the host name would be localhost, because no matter what the IP is, this is already part of the server is already hosted within that same server, so it is not having an issue by directly connecting to the server using localhost. Port will be 5432 and the DB name would be Postgres. So when I give this, and I need to also give the username Postgres and password, whatever you have chosen before, but I have chosen the password as Postgres. So when I save it, and if I click on test connection, you can see the connection has been successfully made. One more change which we need to do is we need to also go to the advanced tab and click on this other database, which effectively means that it needs to be reachable. It means it needs to have a readability from this current schema, which is external MKT data, to this database, which is we will give here as PEGA data, because there are certain read options which might happen on runtime while installing the actual customer decision hub. So it is always best to add the PEGA data as a readable or a reachable by views option in this advanced tab. So I have saved this. Now the connections are done. The next step would be to simply go and install the rules for customer decision hub. So what I will do here is I will simply click on configure from here, go to application, distribution, and import. I would browse, I would choose documents, I would go to my folder where this is saved. Here, rules, I would go to the core one and I'll select it. It's selected. Now click on next. Do not select advanced mode, it is not required. Just simply click on next from here, and that will kind of make sure that all the necessary rules have been updated. So this will take a while because there are a lot of rules which need to be installed. As you can see here, it's now asking for an external MQTT data connection, but you've already configured it, so that will not be an issue. Click on next. So this will actually have a lot of steps in it. First step I think would be, it will be importing some jar files which would need you to restart the server. We will come to that. Just click on next from here. Just click on next, so there will be no further complications. This one we need to ensure that the upgrade schema, these options are checked. Okay, otherwise the actual schema updates will not happen properly. Click on next. The schema updates are done, and now the next bit would be the major rule move. So when I click on next, you will see that the entire code base will now be updated. Yeah, 33,000 rules. So it will take I think about like 2-3 minutes. I obviously underestimated the time which is required here, because although I had said 2 to 3 minutes, it actually took me about 10 minutes to install the entire set of rules. As you can see, it also shows an error encountered during library compilation, but that is fine because CDH actually uses a lot of functions. Now those functions are actually using some of the code from that custom jar which we had installed before. Now the custom jar would only be working when we actually do the restart. So we haven't done a restart yet. So once a restart is done and all the libraries are compiled again, it would work fine. But as you can see, now it is now installed, and I'll simply click on done from here. And before doing a restart, let me just go to the schema here, external MQTT data, and simply do a refresh of the table. I think on the schema, and you can now see all the tables have been created. These tables are new and they have been installed now by PEGA. So the next step would be to simply restart the server. So I will do that. The rest is quite simple. Once you have installed all the files, then we simply need to restart the server. As you can see, I have done it. I'll just go to the new server. I can see that the server is up. I would log in with administrator@pega.com, and I would then try to create a new application from here. If I try to create it, you will see that the option of PEGA Customer Decision Hub now comes, which means that it has now been installed correctly. So that is effectively it in terms of installation of the PEGA Customer Decision Hub framework. Next logical step would be to create applications, PEGA applications of type PEGA Customer Decision Hub, but I haven't tried that yet because that would probably make the video too long. So I think, so I would end the video here with one extra point, which is that PEGA provides a set of hotfixes for every version, and so they also provide a set of hotfixes for PEGA Customer Decision Hub specifically. So I have this page which the link of which I would give in the description below. That actually has a list of all the hotfixes which need to be first requested from PDN and then installed in the application, because if you don't do it, then you might face some issues and you'll not be able to understand why those issues are coming. So after you install the hotfixes, then it's just setting up the CDH framework and then start creating applications and then framing a use case and then using it. So I think that is it for today's video. This simply explains how to install the Customer Decision Hub in your PEGA Personal Edition. The other configurations which would probably be required, I would explore them over next videos. But as of now, this is enough. Please do like, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching this video. Bye bye.